Well, hello again from the Parc des Princes. Now, trust me guys, Newcastle are training over my shoulder there somewhere in the distance. Though they're that far away, it does feel like they're in a different arrondissement. Good pronunciation there, I think I've got it right. But yeah, for the first time in this Champions League campaign, Newcastle have chosen to train at the stadium the night before the game. And I think that's significant. And there was a lot of questions asked of Eddie Howe downstairs just now as to why it was the change in plan. And, you know, after the previous games, the San Siro, out in Dortmund as well, we said amongst ourselves as journalists, we thought they'd missed a trick just in terms of that familiarisation, getting to see the stadium, and subsequently I thought they were poor in those two away games. Poor as in they didn't show them the true selves really. I thought the Newcastle we know and the Newcastle we see in the Premier League week on week, even amidst this injury crisis, look at how good they were on Saturday. I don't think they've produced that in the Champions League on the road yet, and that in many ways is a compliment. Eddie, again, you know, he's touched on that there tonight. He just said, let's try something different. He didn't shut down the suggestion we were making. So yeah, guys, there they are over there somewhere. A little bit of fitness news. Sean Longstaff hasn't travelled. Lewis Hall has. He will be the only change to the squad on Saturday. He will come back in. An update as well on Joe Willock. He's going to see a specialist tomorrow with regards to his Achilles injury, the recurrence of that. It doesn't sound good. You know, Achilles injuries generally are serious by the very nature. It's a part of your body as a footballer, as a human being. You're using all of the time. I don't expect good news on that one, but we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, guys, I'll come back shortly because we've only got 10 minutes watching the team train here for all it is worth, like I say, given how far away they are. The idea is for us press to get some shots and some video, but yeah, anyway. Yeah, but you know, you come here, and after the last game in Dortmund, I think I did my video afterwards, and my intro in the newspaper was fairly strong as well in terms of it felt like the Champions League campaign was over. Do you know what? When you get here and you travel, you're with other journalists, all of a sudden you think, it's not, you know, all they've got to do is be Paris Saint-Germain and Kylian Mbappe tomorrow night. But you know what I mean? When you hear, all of a sudden it feels like a huge, massive gargantuan game again. And if they do get the win, or even a draw now because of the way the results went the last time, even a draw keeps them in it. Now, it's going to be hard, as we've seen, as I've already touched on there just before. I don't think Newcastle have been anywhere close to the Newcastle United we know and admire so much when it's come to the Champions League, barring the Paris Saint-Germain game at home, and they might just need another huge performance like that again back here tomorrow night. But anyway, yeah, we're being waved out of this section for now. I will be back and we'll talk a little bit more in just a second, including the story of my taxi journey here, which was, yeah, eventful to say the least, but not as eventful for one young lady in an ambulance just in front of me. Okay, see you soon. Well, okay guys, so here we are now outside the Parc des Princes. I'm going to have a little wander around the outside of the stadium to a bar where I'm meeting one or two of the PSG media team, and the reason for that is in the reverse fixture at Newcastle, I took those guys out for a drink and took them to the Strawberry actually, and they absolutely loved it. They said they don't have that sort of thing over here, that fan culture, the murals on the wall. The staff there were wonderful with us, and we had a good time. It also impressed them greatly when the Strawberry shut and we realised the only place still open in town was perhaps Lady Grey's. So called a cab, and because there was 6 of us, a big blacked out people carrier pulled up outside in a matter of seconds. And I think those guys must have thought I was someone important. I had my own driver waiting for me around the corner. It was just an Uber. But anyway, it went down well and impressed them, and I'm going to get a couple of drinks out of it now. So there you go. On the subject of Ubers, now my journey here tonight, as I touched on just there before, I was with my colleagues Martin Hardy and Oscar Paul, and we were in the Uber, and all of a sudden, on the way to the Parc des Princes, it pulled up. There was an ambulance in the middle of the road. A policeman jumped in front of us and put 4 cones blocking off the road. He came to as the video now shows, he came to the window. We were at the very front of the queue, and he explained the situation. There was a lady who had been brought out of the apartment block who was given birth in the ambulance, and when cars go past, said the policeman, it affects the scanner, so we were going to have to wait there. Now, I said to the driver, how long? You know, we've only got half an hour to get to Eddie Howe's press conference. Yes, babies are important, but so is Eddie Howe. And he said, you know, 5 minutes. Now, I've got 3 children. I can tell you now, none of the labours were 5 minutes. I think the shortest was 12 hours. So we couldn't take that risk. We thanked the driver for his patience, settled the fare, jumped out, and on we ran 200-300 yards down the road to get another taxi. Jumped in the taxi and he drove straight towards the snarl up with the ambulance, at which point we're screaming, no, please. Anyway, we got here in the end. Now, I posted this little clip on X, Twitter earlier, and the bulk of the replies were, you know, can the baby play centre midfield? Which brings us on to Newcastle United's availability for tomorrow and the team they're going to play. I think it will be pretty much exactly the same as Saturday, barring the one little suspicion we've got amongst ourselves is that Alexander Isak could be used as an option off the bench because Newcastle won't have much there. You know, we saw it in Dortmund, the way he put Anthony Gordon on the bench and used, because Eddie said he wanted those options. I think he might do something similar tomorrow. To that end, we could see Gordon through the middle. The question I've just asked of Eddie downstairs was, and yes, he laughed. I said, you know, is Anthony Gordon emerging as your Kylian Mbappe? To which he said, well, that's a very nice headline, and it is a nice headline, and you'll probably see it in the Daily Mail tomorrow. Please click on the links below. But for me, he is. You know, I think he is honestly emerging now as the one player who Newcastle cannot be without in terms of that impact he's made. You know, 8 goal contributions in the Premier League this season. We've just watched him train there out on the pitch. He's not injured, is the good news. And yeah, I just think his importance to Newcastle right now cannot be underestimated. And I've made this point in the video the other day. Quite how he's not involved with England is a mystery. That was again a question I put to Eddie, and he said, and bearing in mind he's got a very good relationship with Gareth Southgate, he said he thinks Gareth Southgate is keeping an eye on him with regards to the summer, and I'd be very surprised if Anthony Gordon doesn't go to Euro 2024 if he continues in this vein. But for now, rather than sharing headlines with Kylian Mbappe, he's going to have to make them his own if Newcastle are to stay in the Champions League. We know at the bottom of the group as it stands, they cannot lose here tomorrow night. There's a scenario whereby they lose, and if Milan beat Dortmund, Newcastle are out of all European competition. We don't want that because we like coming to places like this and have a nice little foreign beers. So yeah, please keep it alive. But no, on a serious note, they need to stay in this competition. As Darren Neal says, if you want to push back the guardrails of FFP, you've got to be a Champions League team. This is where the money is at, especially when you get through to the knockout rounds. Now, I've just asked for a few of your questions on Twitter there, and one which came back a couple of times actually was in terms of, you know, what importance is Eddie Howe putting on this game. Well, we've just spoken to him downstairs there, and it was fighting stuff. It really was, you know, talking about his team needing to play on the edge. They're at their very best when they've got that motivation and that energy about them. He knows the significance of this game in terms of what could be the club's, you know, the story of the club over the next 1, 2, 3 years. This game could have a huge impact going forward for all of the reasons I've just discussed. So while, yes, Newcastle have got the issues with injuries and they've got that pursuit to get back into the top 4, one of which you look at them on Saturday and think they're perhaps still, you know, very well placed to do. They'll be going all out for this tomorrow night. I've absolutely no doubt of that. Another question which came in was, do I think Dan Ashworth's doing a good job? Now, I think perhaps the inference from the question was that he's not. I don't know. I've just seen him on the pitch there. Yes, absolutely. We've sat down with him 3 times now, I think it is. We've had an audience with him, bumped into him around the place. Very impressive. Everyone I speak to speaks so well of him within the club. He's got real cachet. He is the real deal and exactly the sort of person Newcastle need, and this is using his words, at the centre of the wheel. You know, the guy who connects all of the spokes. So for me, yes, in answer to the question, Dan Ashworth is doing a good job. Another topic which has been touched, and I've had a few questions asked of me in recent days, were the comments of the owners Murdoch Gudusi and Jamie Rubin at the weekend with regards to the atmosphere in the ground. Now, I thought, honestly, I'm sat there in the stands, I thought, first half I thought it was a little bit quiet. Has the St James's Park lost that massive sense of occasion it had before every game last season, and certainly towards the back end of the season before? I think it has a little bit. Maybe that's just a consequence of the games not having as much jeopardy on them anymore in terms of that fight for survival in Eddie's first season, and last year towards the end of the campaign, you know, the push for the Champions League. I thought it was quiet to begin with a little bit on Saturday. Is part of the mitigation for that, the issues with ticketing, which you guys know all about, and it's something we're constantly keeping on top of and looking into ourselves, because it is such an important issue for you, you know, our viewers, our readers. We understand that. Is the consequence of that, perhaps? But then in the second half, I thought St James's was brilliant. It responded to what was an intriguing game on the pitch and an absolutely battling performance from Newcastle's players. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that one. So a complex subject, and Eddie was asked about it tonight, and Eddie asked Eddie negotiated it very well, perhaps better than I've done. He just said, the support is incredible, and we always want it to be at that level. So yeah, very skillfully negotiated, Eddie, but he is very good at that sort of thing. But for now, the challenge for him isn't answering questions in press conferences, it is getting a result back here tomorrow night. Can Newcastle do it is another one of the questions which came in. Well, after Dortmund, I would have said no. I still think it's a huge ask. Coming here against Mbappe, Paris are going to be fired up. They lost the last game, but we know they've got a good team. We know they've got very good players. It's Paris Saint-Germain, come on. But can Newcastle do it? Look at them on Saturday against Chelsea. Absolutely they can, but they're going to have to produce something different than they have done in the European games on the road so far. So if you're pushing me for a prediction, I think they'll get a draw. I think they'll get a draw, and that could keep all things alive going into Milan on December the 13th. And would you Newcastle followers have taken that at the start of the Champions League campaign? I think you probably would have done. So there you go, guys. I'll be back here tomorrow. I'm off now to cash in my offer of some complimentary drinks with the Paris guys. Also, the other journos are out as well, so we'll no doubt put the world to right with all things Newcastle United. That would make a good video, maybe one day. Okay, thanks again for watching, guys. Please click on the links below and stay tuned on to all our Daily Mail platforms. Okay, au revoir for now, and I'll see you again tomorrow night. Take care. Bye bye.